Now where Molly Henneberg is. And Molly, any reaction yet from the White House?
Well, Julie, just following up what you were talking about with Catherine about the tweets, the statements from British Prime Minister David Cameron, that's sort of what official Washington was waiting for. We had contacted the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department for some sort of statement or confirmation on this video, and they all said, we're not getting ahead of the Brits. They put us in, they said, go to the Brits first. So official Washington was trying not to get ahead of the Brits. And we had a statement a few minutes ago, well, probably about 15 minutes ago, that the British Foreign Office was working urgently to try to verify this video. And then minutes later, you just read it, Julie, the statement by David Cameron talking about the murder of that British citizen, David Haines. So as Catherine said, this is essentially confirming it, confirming that the Brits believe this video is authentic, confirming that Haines is now dead, the third person to be killed in this way by ISIS. You saw the video, or the picture anyway, of David Haines looking very pale, very gaunt, as he was forced under duress to make a statement about his own pending execution, which he said he was talking about himself, and then the execution. You heard Catherine talking about the executioner, talking about David Cameron, calling him a lapdog for the Americans, saying he was in an alliance with the Americans, and that's why this British citizen was going to be executed. But as far as reaction from here, from D.C., Julie, nothing yet. They were waiting to let the Brits determine, to verify it and go first. Julie?
Molly, thank you very much. I want to move on to retired U.S. Navy Captain Chuck Nash. He's a Fox News military analyst, and he joins me now. Captain, are you there?
I am, Julie.
We spoke earlier today about the threat in Syria and Iraq and what we need to do to wipe this terrorist network out. It has over 30,000 evil killers in its network. We have heard about airstrikes as one of the possible strategies, one of the possible steps in many, many steps in wiping this terror network out. Your reaction, first of all, to hearing of now a third beheading by this terror network?
Well, I think what they're clearly trying to do is strike terror into the minds of those of us in the West who have had it very comfortable in the world, and we look at that with horror, and we recoil from it, and that's what they want. They want us to recoil, to say, just let them fight it out on themselves, leave them alone, let's just get out of there, drop everything, and accelerate the withdrawal of the U.S. from the region. That was one of the primary objectives that Osama bin Laden had when he started what he called his third jihad, was to get the United States out of there so that he could then go about disassembling and bringing down what he called the illegitimate government. And from there, he would move on, destroy Israel, and then establish a caliphate in those lands. So I think what they're trying to show, Julie, and they will do this again, they're going to keep trying to get hostages to keep doing this so that they can show, we're serious, you're not, give it up now. That is their message. Give it up now and just leave.
It's obvious that no matter how many people's lives are lost, this fight is not over. The question is, who's in the fight? Who is behind the United States? Has the United States convinced our allies to go in with us? Because this is not a fight that the United States can do alone. This is not a fight that the Syrian rebels, those Iraqis are not manned. They are not equipped to fight this on their own. Do we have the support?
Well, this is all happening. The short answer to your question is right now, no, we don't. We do not have an effective ground force that can go against the ground force that is the Islamic State. We do not. That is going to take time. There once upon a time was, not that long ago, a force that could have done that. But what happened was the United States left Iraq. The Maliki government broke all the promises that the United States and Maliki had made to the Sunni. So now what we're seeing, the Islamic State fighters by themselves are not powerful enough to do what has been done. What we're seeing is the Islamic State fighters falling in on top of extreme Sunni tribal unrest. And that's where the manpower and that's where the gravitas is coming from. So what has to happen is a political solution in Baghdad that allows the Sunni back into the fold and so they can then get rid of these cutthroats that they're psychopaths.
I only have about 30 seconds before we have to hit a commercial. I just want to mention David Haines was abducted in March of last year, and he was alongside an Italian colleague. They were traveling in a car through northern Syria. It just, right along the Turkish border. It just goes to show how many boots are needed on the ground in order to not only defeat ISIS in Iraq, but in Syria. And you say this is a ground mission. This should not be just fought from the air.
It is absolutely a ground mission. Air power can be the deciding factor in this, but it takes people on the ground who are looking at the adversary, sticking a weapon in their face, and making sure that they've got the right person targeted. You can't do that at high speed from altitude. You need eyes and boots on the ground to do that, and we're trying to do that without American boots on the ground, which means we need a whole lot of training.
Is it possible to do it without American troops on the ground? Is an international coalition, as the president has proposed, is that enough?
Julie, I have my doubts. I really have my doubts, and the reason is because the level of training that would be required, and to do this using Sunni Arab nations on a Sunni Shia fight it's the strategic. It's just too complicated.
Retired U.S. Navy Captain Chuck Nash, a Fox News military analyst and always extremely insightful. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You bet, Julie.
UK Prime Minister David